Have you ever just looked around and wondered if there's a better way to do all this? A way to build a government that actually works for everybody, not just for a select few. It's one of the biggest, oldest questions out there. So let's dive into a blueprint that tries to answer it. And the source material for this whole explainer really frames the challenge perfectly. Finding the fairest way to govern ourselves is, well, it's the holy grail of political science. We're not talking about a perfect utopia here, but a system that's just structurally designed to be as fair as possible for millions of people. But to even get there, we first have to understand the huge roadblock that every system faces. And this is it. It's called the Trilemma of Governance. Just think of it like this. You get three options: scalability, individual agency, and decisiveness. But you can only ever have two at the same time. So you can have a system that's huge and makes fast decisions, but you, the individual, don't have much say. Or you could have a system that gives everyone a voice and works on a huge scale, but good luck trying to get anything done quickly. This model we're looking at tries to crack this trilemma by totally rethinking how we choose our leaders and even how we vote. Okay, so let's start with the first big piece of the puzzle, the lawmakers themselves. How in the world do you create a legislature that's basically immune to special interests, to the endless need to raise money? The answer this model proposes is kind of radical, but it's also been around forever. Exactly. What if, instead of holding elections, we just picked people out of a hat? The formal name for this is sortition, which is really just a fancy way of saying random selection. The idea is to create a citizens' assembly made up of people chosen by lottery. They'd serve for a single term, kind of like jury duty. The goal? To get a group of decision makers that is a true statistical mirror of the actual population. And this is where it gets really interesting, when you put the two systems side by side. Elections, well, we know how they work. It's about voter choice, sure, but let's be real. It often turns into a popularity contest, or even worse, a financial arms race. Sortition, on the other hand, gives you a group of people that actually demographically looks like the country. The big trade-off, of course, is that you lose that whole class of professional career politicians. So the argument for why this is fair really boils down to this. First, you completely eliminate the influence of campaign money. Poof, gone. No more lobbyists, no more big donors pulling the strings. Second, the legislature physically mirrors the people it represents. And third, all of this shifts the focus away from catering to narrow special interests and towards serving the much broader public interest. Okay, I get it. A randomly selected assembly might sound cool for, like, a small town. But how could that possibly work for a country with 330 million people? How do you scale an idea like this without completely losing touch with local communities? Let's see how the model builds on this. The whole system scales from the bottom up. Power starts local, really local, like in neighborhood councils. Then, those councils send delegates to the next level up, say a regional council. And those regional councils send delegates to the next level, and so on, all the way to the top. But here's the absolute killer feature, the thing that ensures accountability. Any council can instantly recall its delegate at any time for any reason. That creates a direct, powerful line of control right from the grassroots. All right. On to the next big problem. Even if your assembly is perfectly representative, a simple 51-49 vote means half the people can just ignore the other half. So how do you stop that? How do you make sure that passionate minority voices are actually heard, especially when an issue affects them way more than anyone else? This is where something called quadratic voting, or QV, comes into play. It's a fascinating idea. Instead of just one person, one vote, every citizen gets a budget of what you can call voice credits. You then spend those credits to vote on different issues. What this does is it allows the system to measure not just if you care about something, but how much you care. And here's how it works. It's so simple, but so smart. Your first vote on an issue costs you just 1 credit. But what if you feel really, really strongly about it? Well, to cast a second vote, it's going to cost you 4 credits. And a third vote? That'll be 9 credits. The price goes up exponentially, which forces you to think really hard about where you want to spend your influence. The end result is pretty powerful. People naturally save their voice credits for the handful of issues that matter the most to them. This means a passionate minority, by pooling their credits, can actually outvote an indifferent majority on a specific topic, which helps prevent that tyranny of the majority we were just talking about. So we've got a representative assembly and a fair way to vote. Great, but we all know any system can be gamed or can just make big mistakes. So how does this model protect itself? What are the firewalls built in to keep it honest and effective? First off, it proposes a much more granular separation of powers. Instead of just legislative, executive, and judicial, it splits up government by what it does. So, managing public goods like air and water is handled one way, building infrastructure like roads and the internet is handled another, and debating fundamental questions of rights and justice is handled a third way. You use the right tool for the right job. And there are two other really critical safeguards here. First, all proposed laws would basically be open source. Think of it like code on GitHub. Any citizen could look at it, track changes, and suggest improvements. Second, to fight misinformation, the citizen lawmakers would be advised by information curators, panels of competing experts who are legally required to present multiple sides of any issue. Okay, this whole thing sounds incredibly thorough, incredibly deliberate. But you know what they say, there's no such thing as a free lunch. So what's the catch? What's the fundamental price we'd have to pay to get this kind of deep fairness and representation? And there it is. The price is speed. This model is built for careful deliberation, not for rapid-fire decisiveness. In fact, it kind of sees speed as the enemy of a good outcome. It intentionally slows the whole process down to make absolutely sure every voice is heard and every option is weighed. This slide really brings the whole point home. A lot of our current systems are optimized for one thing: speed. They're built to get things done and get them done fast. This proposed model just completely flips that on its head. It argues that getting the correct and representative outcome is way more important than getting the fast one. It's a huge shift in how we even define an efficient government. And that really is the final question this entire blueprint leaves us with. What do we actually want our government to be good at? Do we want it to make decisions quickly? Or do we want it to make decisions that truly reflect who we are as a people? Because at the end of the day, how we choose to measure success, by speed or by fairness, is what defines the kind of government we're going to get.